Welcome to episode 24 of the How to Become a Doctor video podcast. I have Mr. Bowen, Director of Pre-Health Programs, and I both here. So definitely check out our other episodes. You haven't seen them before, but we're the Pre-Health Advisors here at LSU. Helping you guys get into medical, dental, optometry, podiatry school. And so this podcast, is for you guys, to give you information. You can meet with us, but it's sometimes helpful to watch our video in advance and then come talk to us about it. And so definitely, spend the time looking at those. Today we have a great topic, very timely topic, which is letters of recommendation. I would say this is one of the under thought about things of pre-meds. Students, it's on the back burner. They're not thinking about it. Maybe they don't see how important it is. Maybe they're unaware of, what is something called the review committee, which we're going to cover. What's the minimum requirement? What's the timeline? So we're gonna answer all that for you today. But I'm gonna have Mr. Bowen just answer this first question to kind of just back up a little bit and ask, even why would a medical dental school even require letters of recommendation to begin with?
Yeah, so good, this is good timing because a lot of you are probably thinking about your application. You're getting ready to start the cycle. You're planning to begin your application process this next summer. So any professional school that you're going to apply to is going to require letters. And they may each have their own little stipulations, but in general, it's people who are familiar with you from an academic perspective, but also could be, personal attributes, skills that you possess. An employer, someone who's seen you in action and, as a leadership role or things like that. So there are lots of different perspectives or insights that they can get from these letters that aren't really available in any other way on the application format. It's almost like a verification, basically, of what you've said in your application. You talked about that you're a mature, responsible, that you are service oriented and all of those things. And this is kind of the confirmation. Letters sort of provide a confirmation from people who have seen you in action and, hopefully you use that terminology when they describe you, that this is a reliable, dependable person. It's just sort of another way of them being able to see beyond the GPA, see beyond the test scores, to kind of, try to assess who you are as a person.
Yeah, it's, I like that word you used, the confirmation, because, a lot of times they might not find out new information about you through these letters, but, the fact that the AMCAS, Tim Sass, all those things are self-report, you could talk about, in your personal statement, how great of a person you are, but, to have somebody actually back that up is obviously a big deal. The medical provider role is so much more than, just doing well on a test. You have to be able to know the right answers to things, but that personability, that responsibility, taking life in your hands, not, it's a very high calling to be a medical practitioner, and they want to guard that very well because, those on the committee know that you as a student, maybe their doctor one day, maybe their dentist, operating, on them. And so they're trying to pick people who they can trust. So,
And I think,
yeah.
from the somebody's writing a letter for you and they're sort of signing their name on this, it's almost like they're vouching for you. And so they're going to be very serious. They're going to, they're not going to want to put their name on something that they don't sincerely feel about you. So, when you're asking people to write letters for you, those are things to consider. How's my relationship been with this person? Have I demonstrated, positive aspects of myself to this person? Have I shown professionalism? Have I been mature? Have I done, things in the right way with them? Because they're typically going to be very honest and give an assessment because, they're not going to just rubber stamp a letter for you. If they're going to take the time, they're going to usually, be very serious about it. And again, they're putting their name to sort of validate, that they, are in a sense, vouching for you.
All right, that's, we like to share the why because I know, you guys, especially this generation, loves to know, why they're doing something. So, you have to do it, but that just gives you the background. And so, the next question, of course, is going to be, as we think about what's the minimums for med school, dental school application, what's that going to be with when it comes to letters? Because you guys know you have to do your pre-med, pre-dental, pre-recs, the classes. You got to take your test, the MCAT, the DAT. You got to have some clinical hours. You've been in the field, but the letters of rec is a requirement, right? So there's no sort of suggestion, something like that. Every school is going to have a different requirement. And as you look at your school list, you're going to need to do the largest requirement. So if one school requires 2 letters and one 3, you got to do 3. And we're going to hit the review committee letter next. But I think the idea here is just for you to realize that this isn't something that you could do. You're not able to apply without it. And so
Right.
we're just going to demonstrate. We're fortunate we have 2 LSU med schools, LSU dental school. We're going to use them as a model of how to access admissions website and discover this. You can see it on the MSAR as well, which is medical school admissions requirements, subscription for that through AMC. But we're doing the free route, going through the requirements. We'll start by geography with our closest 2 schools in New Orleans. So this is the website for LSU New Orleans Medical School. So you're going to see a lot of the requirements, and we've touched on other ones at other times. But when it comes to letters, this is New Orleans wording here. They say to strongly advise that applicants obtain letters of rec from their school's pre-professional pre-med advisory committee. We have one here. We have meetings in November for the next year. In this case, applicants should follow the pre-professional committee's individual rules and deadlines to obtain those letters. If an applicant chooses not to use the committee letter, or they're no longer eligible, they must submit 3 letters of rec from professors that have taught them in didactic, meaning lecture classes in science and math. So there's a few other, text here down that, if you've been out of school for a couple of years, you may be able to get out of this with another, employer. But for the most part, if you've been in college in the last 2 years, you either need the committee letter, which is strongly advised, which we require 2 of any professor, or you need 3 science lecture. So I don't know if Robbie, if you wanted to comment on New Orleans or anything.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, I think this is a pretty standard, uh, medical schools may have some differences. And if you come and see us, the first thing we're going to say, or one of the first things we're going to tell you is check the admissions website of the medical or dental schools that you're planning to apply to. If you have your top 5 schools, you need to know what the requirements are at all 5 of those in terms of letters. And you want to try to, make sure you're fulfilling what they're asking for. But pretty standard. It's going to say the letter they prefer is from the advisory committee at your school. And so, just kind of know that, that's the one they're expecting. It doesn't mean it's required at some schools, but you will see the occasional school that says, Arkansas, for example, if your school has a review committee, you must get a letter from them, or you must provide, us an explanation of why this isn't possible for you to get it.
Right. Yeah. That's, just so that's kind of our MO here, use the review committee. You're going to be eligible for these schools like Arkansas that require it. You're going to do what LSU New Orleans, for example, strongly advises, and it's going to make your life easier because, as we'll mention a little bit, we require your professors to send their letters to us by June 1st. So that means, we're turning everything around. If you're not going to the committee, it's just up to you to hope that they turn it into AMCAS, in time, because there's no one else putting pressure on them. So a lot more to say there, but that's just a perusal of New Orleans. We'll go over to just keep with the medical at first. We'll go over to Shreveport, or other medical school in Louisiana, and you can see here, once again, letters of recommendation are required. They strongly prefer a letter from the committee, so no difference there. If you have that, you're good, right? If you don't have the committee, they want 3 to 5 letters. They say dated, they want a date on there. They want it fresh, meaning, if you're applying in 2024, it's 2024 letter, and so, if you don't have a committee, well, that's not any of you guys here. We have it, but, and then they talk about the professors. So if you don't meet the requirements of the committee, yeah, 3 individual professors required. Okay. They prefer science over here, not required over here. But if you're applying to New Orleans and Shreveport, you'd have to have 3 science without the committee letter. They got to be current. So, they have some, a few different, ways people can get out, but you don't want to be doing exceptions if possible. You typically, if you're trying to get into a school, you usually want to be doing what they recommend. So pretty standard. And then we'll just go to LSU Dental here. Once again, similar stuff. They're not putting on here in writing that they uh, necessarily prefer the committee letter. However, we definitely have heard Dr. Jeremy, those speak that is the preference. And but on here they're saying committee letter for dental or two basic science professors, biology, chemistry, physics. And once again, to get the committee letter, you will need two of any professor, but that's that. So I don't know if Robbie, if you have anything else for the medical dental for the requirements.
Just make sure you check wherever you think you're going to apply.
Right. Some osteopathic schools, DO, do require a physician. It's just, or maybe some rarely even require a DO physician to do that letter. A lot of that was waived during COVID. Someone's coming back, so we just always say like double, triple check. Even if this information could change from when we're recording this, so don't go off us. Go straight to the website. If it's in writing on their website, it's good. Take a screenshot because you can always use that as a receipt to show that you followed their standards there. So. Yeah, so it kind of brings the question, what is the review committee, right? And in a lot of these podcasts, we've been spending time, trying to go through our resources. A lot of this you can find online, but y'all don't really know where to look sometimes. That's okay. So what we're going to do here is show you where to find this stuff and explain it for you. If you're part of the Phase Moodle page and you're asking what's the review committee, hopefully you've seen our tab on the review committee. If you're not part of this, you can go to our LSU Phase Instagram at LSU Pre-Health. Go to that website, find the Moodle page on there, hit enroll me, join it. But you join our Moodle page, you hit what is the review committee, and we have a little write up here. So I'm not going to read this for you, but encourage you, you read this. You can see our committee members as of now. But the idea of the committee this is obviously different than the admissions committee, right? So, we're more of the preview committee, you could call us. So you apply to us here at LSU Baton Rouge before you apply to medical dental school. You're going to send us an application. What that timeline is going to look like, right now this is being recorded in October. So in November, we do the same time meetings every year. It's the Wednesday, Thursday, and then Monday before Thanksgiving at 5:30 on campus. You come to an informational meeting. Then that spring, that January, you'll get access to our application. And you would, submit your letters of emails to us, usually late February, early March, and then you take your test, DAT, MCAT, and submit an application to us by April, May. When you do all that, that's coming to a team of 9 professors and the 2 pre-health advisors, Mr. Bowen and I, and we actually review 200 of these applications over the summer. Now, we're not out there to get you. We're not trying to throw you under the bus. We want you to get in. It makes us look better if you do, but we are trying to give an unbiased, letter of evaluation, a rating. And you, like we said, you have 2 professors send letters to us. You can have up to 2 more optional letters. And we upload that as one packet straight to your AdSAS. It goes straight to your AMCAS. So you don't have to go and collect these other letters. It comes all through our system, uploaded all at once. And the idea behind it is that we can advocate for you. So if you make an A+ in physics at LSU, we know that's a really big deal. We're going to highlight that, because maybe A+, another school down the road, everybody gets, but we know here it's a tough class. You worked hard, you got it. You're part of this, you're part of a narrative medicine cohort at LSU. We're going to talk about what that is and advocate for what is AED, what are these, what is Pre-Dental Society, what is Smile Train, all these different things we can talk about. And so typically we have a lot more out of our students that get a lot more use the committee than not required, but I don't know, Robbie, if I missed anything just about what is the review committee.
Yeah, and so I think sort of why do they prefer this letter, and why are they interested in hearing from this? As Matt mentioned, it's a group evaluation. It's not one person's opinion. And if you're getting individual letters, obviously, you're going to go to people that are going to say good things about you, right? I mean, you're all intelligent and you want to get into medical school. So obviously you're going to go to people that are going to provide you with positive letters. That's certainly expected. And so the review committee, though, I mean, we are going to try to support you. We want you to get in, but it is going to be unbiased. We're going to look objectively at your whole application. What coursework have you completed? How many hours of clinical service have you done? What's your record of service like? So we take a whole bunch of different things about you and try to come up with, what our opinion would be, how kind of using the same credentials that the medical and dental school admissions offices do, the same things that they evaluate you on, we're evaluating you on as well, but we're writing a personalized individual letter specifically for you. It is not a, standard, we just plug your name in, into some kind of, you know, formatted letter. It is individually constructed. And so at most schools, that's sort of why they like that, because they know that, it's different opinions, it's all different types of viewpoints. You've got faculty, you've got advisors, you've got all different kinds of people who are having input into what's being said about you. Also, like if you're applying, let's say you're applying to a medical school in New York, they don't know anything about LSU. They don't know what majors are challenging, what coursework, as Matt was alluding to, this is a really hard, tough course, and the student was able to, be successful in that. They're just going to see the grade that's on the transcript. But that further clarification to say, maybe this person's GPA is a little bit lower than what you typically accept. However, if you look at the coursework that he's done, how he's challenged himself, he hasn't, avoided any difficult courses. And, those are the types of things that are going to just show up on a paper. And your faculty who's writing a letter is going to refer to their class, how you did in their class, but we have access to how you did in all of your classes. So it's more encompassing, and it's just more, unbiased is the word I keep coming up with. So.
Right. Yeah. So, definitely encourage you guys to, use the committee. If it's, November and you'll be applying the next summer, definitely want to be, checking our Instagram, checking the Moodle page on the calendar to see about those info meetings.
And we have people who view our videos from other schools. And so if you are at a school, you're watching this, but your school doesn't have a committee, you're not going to be at a disadvantage. You can get your individual letters. But if you are at a school that does have a committee process like what we're discussing, it is in your best interest to try to get that letter, if possible.
Yeah. Yeah. So, when it comes to timeline, we just wanted to hit on the timeline and just mention, if you're applying, let's say you're applying, in a June, that's in your mindset, you just back up to the fall before, at least at LSU, you attend that info meeting in November. When do you ask the professor? Well, here's the big thing. You typically would not ask a spring professor, if you're going to use the committee, at least, someone that you're in, because you typically want to have posted a grade in their class. So if you were asking that professor, and it was in spring, you'd probably ask them in May for an extra letter, or you wouldn't be using the committee. But for the most part, you're going to use, the fall before you apply. Those professors are great, or anyone before that. Looking at all those professors, and you typically have wanted to post a good grade in their class, A, maybe B plus, something like that. And, had a positive experience in their class, showed up to class, worked hard, respectful, did well. You may not be best friends with the professor, but, as long as, you really, had a good experience there, then, the follow-up is going to be big, right? So, when do you ask? Well, anytime from the fall to early spring is fine. If it's going to be a fall professor, maybe December or January is good, at least for the committee. But, for us, like it's due March, like March 1st, is a lot of times a deadline for to submit the names for the committee. Well, that means you don't want to be asking a week before that in February, because the professors will be being bombarded. So maybe January, maybe December, maybe November, or something like that. But just be very formal and nice. A way to kind of structure an email. Hi, Dr. So and so. Really enjoyed your class. Very helpful. We're applying to dental school this summer. Here is my personal statement and resume. Would love if you'd be, willing to give me any feedback on it. Also, willing to write me a letter of recommendation. I'd love to meet with you for 15 to 30 minutes to share more about, my passion to become a dentist. And you feel it out. And if, they're not feeling it back, maybe you move on. But if they are, you can move forward. But that's kind of just a very sort of template. Robbie, you had anything on asking professors?
I think, in terms of timing, sometimes a student will say, I'm not going to be applying for 3 years, but this guy wants to write me a letter. Can I get him to go ahead and write the letter? You have to be careful about them. A lot of schools the letters have to be dated within the past year, a calendar year. They're only valid for a year from the time that they're signed or dated. So, it's best, if that person wants to write a letter for you and you're not applying for a year or two, absolutely say thank you. I would love for you to do that, and I will be in touch with you when it's time to write the letter. And then, stay in touch with them. Drop by to see them every once in a while. Shoot an email to give them an update. Staying in touch with them, but not actually obtaining the letter until you're about to begin the application process is the best process to do that. Hopefully part of like developing yourself into a strong candidate is developing relationships with faculty members. So, it's hopefully you've had that opportunity you go see them during office hours, you chat with them before or after class, something's going on in the lecture that's confusing me, or I'm having a difficult time grasping this. That's a perfect example of a time where you can go to their office and, ask your questions. They have a chance to get to see you, your face, put the face and name together, especially if it's a large lecture. And so then when you come back to ask for the letter, they're familiar. They have some familiarity with you. They, remember that you've been they've seen you, working extra hard to learn the content. So, the process of getting a letter starts much earlier than the time that you need to go ask for it. Hopefully you've, are sort of developing that relationship from the first day of class until, the semester ends.
Yeah, and so we've talked a lot about professors because you can see, we have students in the office for pre-med advising all the time. They say, "I'm not worried about letters of recommendation. I've got some good ones from doctors," and we'd say, "Well, that could be some extra letters, but that does not go towards your minimum requirement." And those professor letters, are more objective, and so the schools, the deans will talk about how they really, while they'll read out, other letters, they really emphasize the committee and require the committees and or professor letters because of that. So sure, get the doctor letters, get those other letters that are going to speak for you, but you also are going to want some strong LSU or university letters. So yeah, that's kind of like the in and out. There's a lot to talk about. You might have some follow-up questions, but we did just want to give you some online resources. If you watched one of our very first episodes in our first semester doing this, we did one on what resources can I trust, and we told you guys the best possible resource to start with is AAMC. And we're going to be looking at their website a little bit, but AAMC, the American Association of Medical Colleges, this is where you guys will fill out the AMCAS, where you'll sign up for the MCAT. And so obviously it's very good information, and we find students are looking at other websites first and failing to look straight from those that run all the medical schools admissions. So we just want to let you know that a lot of the questions we're answering are on the website. We encourage you to check that out, and so we do want to just go over to their these websites that are there for you to use as a student, but also for you to send to your letter writers. And they might not know exactly what to put on the letter, and you can yourself say, "Hey, this is what AMC says." And that's the first thing we start with. If you just maybe Google this, you could find it on AMC's website. But these guidelines for writing letter evaluation, you guys aren't going to be the ones writing one. You're asking for one, but you could tell your letter writer, "Hey, just wanted to send you this article from AMC, about, if you hadn't seen this before, this is what they're looking for." And they also have the core competencies. We talked about these before as well from AMC, what you should be demonstrating. You can maybe tailor your resume to this or highlight to your professor the ways that you believe you've modeled these in your life. But use this, read this first, talk about these. You can read this article, the guidelines there, as they also have just ones about letters in general for med schools. They have this article, just section 6 of the AMCAS letters evaluation. So definitely read through these. We talked about the different types of letters, but you definitely want to, before applying to med school, read AMC's articles on this, understand how it all works. You don't want to be caught missing a requirement or something like that.
Yeah, and when you contact the faculty member, you send him an email or her an email like, "Would you be willing to write a letter?" And then they say yes. When you respond, "Thank you for agreeing to write a letter," I've included a link for you that may be helpful to find out what types of information the medical and dental schools are looking for in a letter, and you just link that, what we just showed you, into your email. They'll appreciate that. It will help them as they construct their letters to kind of tailor it to what's being asked. And so that communication between you and the letter writer is important. You don't just ask, they say yes, and then you never have any other contact with them. You want to follow up with an email. You want to maybe try to go and see them face to face, and I'm bringing you my copies of my resume, and here's my transcripts. This is the rough draft of the personal statement that I'm going to be submitting, and that's going to typically lead to a conversation. They're going to say, well, what got you interested in being a dentist? And so you have a time to kind of share with them, and that's going to make that a more informative, a rich letter from that person, because they're not just saying he took my class, he got an A, he finished in the top 10%, he seems like a nice guy. The letter is going to be a much different letter. They're going to say, I had a chance to talk to her about how her interest developed, and she told me stories about her clinical experience of working in the hospital, and I could see how excited and passionate she was about this. I mean, that's a much different letter than she took my class, she did well, she got a good grade in that letter. So, and that's going to come from your communication with them, you're spending time with them, and that they teach hundreds of people. But that's a way for you to sort of make that connection. That's going to make that a better letter.
Right, because we might have, I don't know if we mentioned this before, but Mr. Bowen and I were just talking about how for you guys, you don't see the letters, so you never know the impression you made. You're not allowed to see the letters. You're not allowed to, you can't be asking them, oh, what are you going to put on it? They write this letter, and it is a vulnerable moment, but you can be, if you do your due diligence of being respectful, being, courteous and professional, then you can, rest assured that it's going to be a good letter. Opposed to if you're, we've had students pressure professors to get letters and push them and be rude or be the night before, like really try to avoid those things, because you kind of can figure out what kind of impression you've made. So we only have a few minutes left. I just wanted to cover the practical part of actually requesting the letter, and just quick on the Optomcast, the ADSAS, AMCAS. Why don't you, Robbie, why don't you hit those three, just what it looks like to actually go into the system and request those letters?
Yeah, so when you are filling out your standard application, AMCAS for medical, ADSAS for dental, Optomcast for optometry, ACOMAS if you're doing the DO schools, they're all pretty much asking for the same types of information. So, once you've entered all your biographical stuff, your name, so your contact, your schools that you attended, your grades, there's always going to be a section that asks you, how are you going to submit, what letters are you going to submit to meet our admission requirements? And you will have to list, the letters that you're receiving. If you're using the LSU Pre-Medical, Pre-Dental Review Committee, or any review committee at your school, you will make an entry that says, I'm getting a committee letter from my school, and here at LSU, you would put my contact information, my email as the point of contact. That one entry that says you're getting a committee letter covers anything that you submitted to the committee. So those individual letters that you had sent to the faculty, to the review committee, you don't have to list those individually. That one entry that you're getting a committee letter covers all of that. But let's say that you're not using the committee and you're getting individual letters, or after the committee process was over, someone else volunteered to write you a letter and you want to submit that, then you will list that as an individual letter. And you will have to list that person's name and contact information, particularly their email address, because the way that they will be contacted would be through an email. And so make sure that you have the correct email address, that everything is entered correctly into the system. So you would say, I'm getting a letter from Dr. Jones. He taught me biology 4087, biochemistry in the fall of 2025, 2024. And his email address is, whatever. And you would actually enter that. The moment that you enter that, Dr. Jones gets an email from ACOMAS, AMCAS, ADSAS, to whichever the system that says, John Smith has listed you as a letter evaluation for our application for medical school, dental school, and they will have a link where that person will upload a PDF of their letter directly to the application service. So it isn't going to be sent to you and you uploaded it. You're never going to have any contact with this letter, or you never should have any contact with this letter. And you want to make sure that you don't, because that would be an ethical issue. You're stipulating to them that this is an private, unseen letter that they're writing. And so everything is done electronically from that point. They go online, they upload it. If you're using the committee here, you're telling us on our committee application the same thing, and it's the same process. We're going to send them an email, they're going to send it to us, but you don't have to list those letters individually on the ACOMAS AMCAS application. So if it's a committee letter, it's listed as such. If it's something that's not part of the committee packet, or you got them individual letters, you select individual letter and enter each person's information. Did that cover?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, so that's great. That's what we got for you guys today. But
that's why it's important, though, that if you're applying to 4 different schools and you're doing individual letters, you have to make sure that on the AMCAS you can sort of match your letters. I want these letters to go to LSU New Orleans. I want these letters to go to LSU Shreveport. But as Matt mentioned earlier, it's better to just meet all the requirements for everybody, and you're not having to pick and choose. Did I have to do this for that and that for this school? Just make sure you're meeting all the requirements, and you can just send them all to everybody, that you need, instead of I have to send DO schools sometimes require a letter from a DO. And so, but you can send that DO letter to everybody, whether they require a DO letter or not. So, so it's important to check, these are my schools I'm applying to. I'm going to go look at their website and see what their stipulations about letters are, and make sure that I'm meeting that. And if this school's a little bit different, but it's encompassed in the other school, I'm just going to try to make it as all encompassing as I can with what I have.
Right. There's gonna be more to say. That's our best summary we have for you guys in 30 minutes, but that should get you started. And then if you have questions, shoot us an email, come in for advising. We're definitely happy to help you through the very specific things, but just encourage you to start early, build, those relationships with professors, and then just reach out if you need help. So
start right now, going to AAMC and ADEA for dental, and reading about letters, and it'll help you kind of maybe narrow down who should I ask. Getting that information will help you figure out, I need 3 faculty, so instead of the 2 dentists, I'm going to just get one of the dentists and the other faculty. Just making sure you're matching where you're applying. And you're getting the source directly, as we talked about, from the reliable information is always going to be that particular school or that particular application service.
Absolutely. Great. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one, but appreciate it.